It's great to be back. Great to be back. I'm fully vaccinated and ready to go with the 30th episode of the Savage Squirrel Show. So, yeah, the last year and a half was, it was interesting to say the least. But in order to get through the pandemic, I just did what I always do. Play video games, drink beer, and avoid people. Oh, wait a second. I did that before the pandemic. So I guess my life didn't really change that much. Well, anyway, let's cut to the chase. Another thing I did during the pandemic was play old video games that have been sitting in my collection for over 20 years. And the game I want to talk about today is none other than a Goemon game. So, let's go check it out. Oh yeah, if you were wondering why I was wearing a cowboy hat and sunglasses at the beginning of the video, that's because during the pandemic, when the parking garage was abandoned, I decided to take advantage of the situation and do like a mini photo shoot and film this video at the same time. So I was basically just trying to kill two birds with one stone, but it was fun. Go for it, Goemon, Glittering Under the Road, Why I Became a Dancer, developed by Konami back in 1995. Jeez, the Japanese sure love their long titles. Okay, right off the bat, I just want to say that I've been a huge Goemon fan ever since The Legend of the Mystical Ninja was released on the Super Nintendo back in the early 1990s. This is actually the fourth game in a series that was released only in Japan for the Super Famicom. The reason why I chose to review this particular game was because this was the one Goemon game I never played when it was originally released. In fact, I didn't even know the game existed until I saw a friend play it back in 2002 while I was serving in the Air Force. So shortly after seeing him play it, I decided to get the game off of eBay, and it's pretty much been sitting in a storage box ever since. I think the main reason why I missed out on it back in 1995 was because it was around the same time the PlayStation was released by Sony. So basically, all those games released for the Super Famicom after the release of the Sony PlayStation pretty much got overlooked. During the pandemic, I finally got around to playing it, and not to mention a bunch of other games I had sitting around collecting dust. Most of those titles were games released for the Super Famicom and Sega Genesis back in the 1990s during the whole 16-bit console war, which is a whole completely different discussion altogether, so let's just move on. Okay, here's the game's overall plot. Impact, the giant mecha from the previous two games, shows up to visit Goemon and company while they're having a party and claims that he has been pretending to be a mecha the whole time and needs to return to his homeworld because it is in danger. The evil sports-obsessed Seppukumaru and his henchmen are trying to turn his planet into a giant Dick's Sporting Goods store. Yeah, it's a sports-themed game. And Impact wants to stop them. After hearing this, Goemon and his friends agree to go with them to help him out any way they can. Impact is so happy, he starts dancing around and accidentally knocks over the princess's castle. Whoops. Now, in order to get to Impact's homeworld, the four heroes, Goemon, Ebisu, Sasuke, and Yae, have to split up to each of the planet's 4 moons and disable the barrier that is preventing anyone from arriving or departing the planet. Each character will have to learn special abilities to get through their respective stages. Let's go over them, shall we? Goemon has this chain pipe which allows him to swing around like Simon Belmont in Castlevania 4. Ebisu can drill through rocks, Sasuke can climb walls, and Yae can turn into a mermaid. After defeating Seppukumaru's henchmen on all 4 moons, Goemon and company can now enter the planet to take on Seppukumaru himself. And now that you have all 4 characters, you can go back to those other 4 moons and use the other characters to find items that you couldn't attain earlier in the game. Mainly those lucky cats that are hiding all over the place that increase your life meter. Trust me, you're gonna need those for some of the later stages because, let me tell you, I had a real hard time fighting that goddamn fucking soccer robot. What the hell was that fucking shit? Alright, moving on. Also, if you find all the lucky cats throughout the game, you'll be able to unlock Time Pilot 95 in the arcade mode. I mean, it's not gratuitous, but fuck it, it's something. Now, as far as the gameplay is concerned, it's your typical Mario World style platforming game with a little bit of action RPG elements in it. Now, some of the platforming can be a little rough around the edges and downright frustrating at times, but it's not enough to ruin the game. And as far as the boss battles are concerned, The giant robot impact battles from the previous 2 games have been replaced with competitive minigames. Yes, you heard me correct, minigames. I really wasn't too keen on the idea at first, but I do appreciate the fact that Konami was trying to do something different this time around. And many of these minigames are tributes to older Konami titles. Besides, I really like this bungee jumping minigame. It's really fun once you figure out the controls, and the best thing about this game is they at least provide in-game tutorials before each minigame so you don't get confused. The developers at Konami did a really good job here. The graphics, music, and sound effects for this game are probably the very best I've ever experienced on the Super Famicom. I really like what they did here. This was actually a really fantastic installment of the series. The first playthrough seemed very difficult, but when I played it a second time, it was much easier. My only gripe about the game is the lack of the impact battles that were in the previous 2 titles. However, the game's ending is very funny, and I'm not going to spoil it for you. And when it comes to all the Goemon games released on the Super Famicom, you really can't compare them to each other because they are all very unique games with different ideas. I do highly recommend you play each game at least once, but if I had to pick a favorite, it would have to be Ganbare Goemon 2. That's mainly because I like the silly looking villains in that game. Those bunny guys crack me up. Well, that's pretty much all I have to say about it. So if you're a Goemon fan and you don't have this game, I highly recommend adding it to your collection, because it's a good one. Oh, and if you're wondering where Gordon is, he's in rehab at the moment for his cocaine addiction. Yeah.
What a fucking idiot.
Yeah, tell me about it. Well, I just got back from rehab, man. Hey, you got any potato chips and some popcorn in there? It's too late, man. You're not gonna ruin my video. It's over. Oh, it's over, man. That's great, man. Let's go out and get stoned. Get the fuck out of here. Alright, we're done. And there you have it, folks. Goemon is one of my favorite video game series of all time. It's too bad that many of the games never made it to the shores of North America. However, there are some fan translations out there, so if you can find them, check them out, because it's a great series. Well, anyway, that's all I have left for today's episode, so until next time, Savage Squirrel signing out.
What a fucking idiot.
Lay down, Elliot, lay down. Good dog.